on Yankees Hot Stove. Next week, Major League Baseball will hold its annual winter meetings, the scene of many notable signings and trades throughout the years. Having already made some moves, including the Brian McCann trade, Brian Cashman has been active during this offseason. Now, in an excerpt from an interview that will air on Yes during Yankees Magazine next week, Nancy Newman asks Cashman about prepping for the meetings.
So heading into the winter meetings then, what do you see as the biggest priorities? What's your approach going in? These are arguably the busiest days of the year.
Well, I think the pitching is an area that needs to continue to be focused on. Offensively, I think we struggled this past year compared to the previous year. But we're committed to the youth movement with a lot of the young guys coming in, whether it's Bird, Austin, Judge, Hicks' continued development. And those are the areas that are open, for instance. So outside of maybe signing a DH, I'd say that the offense is going to be, less likely to change. But with Mac's trade now, I think again you could see potentially a DH spot be filled, and then the pitching area is a little bit more easily playable, and so we're going to continue to see where that takes us. And I need more pitching, both starting and bullpen, and hopefully we can find it. The winter starts out with, you hope certain things happen or you pursue certain things and you wind up in a completely different other spot. So I don't know where it's going to take us, but I know that we're open-minded to pivot when necessary.
Another part you have to consider about being stocked farm system-wise is the fact that probably complicates how you prepare for the Rule 5 draft. Is that fair to say? It is.
It's certainly the more talent you have, the more difficult it is to protect against, poaching in the Rule 5 draft. So, we were forced in in August it started, kind of preparing for roster cleansing. So I traded Ben Gamble to the Seattle Mariners and got 2 high-end arms that are far away, non-Rule 5 eligible players back from the Seattle Mariners. That was part of the McCann deal. It cleared up another roster spot. We got two Rule 5, non-Rule 5 eligible players back that we'll see down the line, we hope. And we sent Pazos recently to the Seattle Mariners, again for a non-roster, non-Rule 5 eligible starting pitcher that'll go into our AA rotation. So that's the process that we've started and we'll continue to work on as we try to prepare, for losing some players in the Rule 5 draft and limiting that exposure.
So starting pitching or pitching overall, definitely on Cashman's radar. We've talked about it. Aroldis Chapman, that would be a great fit, but at what cost? But then in terms of free agent starters, boy, Flash, who do you go if you want some of those guys invest money in, and will the money be well spent?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's been a lot of conversation about Rich Hill maybe coming to the Yankees, a soft-throwing lefty with a big curveball. But I look at that list right there, and are those guys that much better than your young talent at the back end of the rotation? Sessa, Green, Severino, Adam Warren. I mean, any of those players can do a nice job. Will these veteran guys who are going to cost you more money do a better job? I'm not necessarily on board. When I think pitching, I think bullpen, I think Chapman.
Right. I think Chapman is the #1 guy that they're going to go after. We talked about that on our last show, and that is definitely a priority. You make that bullpen stronger. It can help alleviate some of what's going on in the rotation. I'm with Flash. When I look at that graphic, I look at that list of starters, there is no one there that overwhelms me. Rich Hill has put together a nice run here recently, but this is a guy who not too long ago was pitching an independent ball. He has never had a full season under his belt that would say to you, yeah, I want to go out and give this guy 3 years. I'm going to give him 3 years, $36 to $39 million, because that's probably what it's going to cost. I wonder if the Yankees have kicked the tires on him, wondering if he comes back to something shorter than that, because I'm not sure that's a guy I go to 3 years on.
Don't you still feel like it's going to be the past couple of years, just flood spring training with arms, see who comes out? Some guys might be starters, other guys you can put in the midsection to back end of that bullpen.
Yeah, John mentioned one of the guys that I think is a key, and that's Severino. We can talk about Mitchell, we can talk about Green, we can talk about Sessa. Severino was supposed to be a sure thing last year, and that didn't work out for the Yankees. He can alleviate a lot of their concerns if he could come out and be the guy who had those numbers on the right, not as a reliever, be a starter who can put up those kind of numbers.
You know what, Jack, that'll I wonder, can he make that transition to the starting rotation? I mean, last year we saw him out of the bullpen, and he's a classic thrower. Just throw as hard as you can, 2-pitch pitcher, go through a lineup one time, and he was dominating. I guess my point is, can can he back it down a little bit and pitch a little bit better? Add the changeup, throw it more, believe in it. Because if he can make that transition, now you really have something. But as Hal Steinbrenner talked about earlier, a lot of unknowns, and Severino is definitely one of those guys.
All right.